Hi, and welcome to Family on Purpose. Today, we are diving into a tool that Family ID created so that you and everybody you know can understand who your family is and how to live on purpose. The most challenging thing in spending years of ministry, Greg that started Family ID, he and I have had multiple conversations. The most challenging thing is helping families to understand, hey, they can be and should be intentional inside the home. Awareness is the most challenging thing. We took a stab at solving that, but I'll tell you, every family has 4 core principles: family identity, family purpose, family direction, and family application. I can't wait to dive into it today. Mm-hmm. The greatest hook is, what's your family all about? Mm-hmm. When I ask that to families, I mean, people give me deer in headlights, just big, they have no idea.
Yeah.
Because for some people, it's the first time they've ever actually processed that question. Mm-hmm. What was it like first time I asked you?
I definitely hesitated, but ultimately I hadn't ever been asked that, and I hadn't really thought about it. Gosh, I don't even remember the answer that I told you. It probably was that I don't know. Like, you kind of challenged me in that moment too, which was really cool. It really was the beginning of unpacking a lot of stuff, which was cool.
That's the whole purpose. That's the purpose of the question. Get people thinking and to go from unaware to aware that your family matters.
Yeah.
And you can do family on purpose and be intentional. And there's more to it than just living and surviving.
Yeah.
So, babe,
oh my gosh,
what's the England family all about?
Well, I think God's the center of our family. And then our family, I would identify us with our core values as we went through the Family ID process of just establishing, hey, who are we? What are the, what's the framework of our family? So we're prayerful in decision-making. We have enduring family unity. We have unending integrity. What are the other 2? I do this every time. Hold on. Just give me a hint.
You got it. We are radically
protective of our quality time.
That's it.
I know that one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And we pursue
excellence in everything.
That's it. She's got it.
Yeah.
Come on.
Good.
Yeah.
We are called to be beacons of light and pillars of strength to a dark and crumbling world, right?
Yeah. Shine strong.
So good.
That's who we are. That's who we are.
I think it's easy to talk about, like, well, you guys need to be more intentional. It's easy to say, you need to be more intentional with your family. But for whatever reason, that just does not.
No, I get it.
It doesn't, it's not hitting someone in here.
Yeah.
All of that is why we created at Family ID the assessment that you mentioned. So when we discovered family identity, family purpose, family direction, and family application. So identity answers the question, who are we? Purpose answers the question, why are we here? Direction answers the question, where are we going? And application answers the question, how do we get there? So we identified that one day sitting in the Family ID office, that's what those 4 pieces were. And every family has those 4 pieces. They prioritize some, they deprioritize others. They don't even pretend like some exist. And the goal was, how do we easily help somebody go from unaware to aware? And so we put a bunch of questions down. We worked with the technology team to put together an assessment that could help answer those questions. And the number or the result of that assessment is, I think, is important, but it's a lot less important than somebody going through that process and answering those questions, because those questions help take you from unaware to aware. Right.
Yeah.
Babe, you said something off camera before we got started about, hey, there might be some families that never take the assessment.
Sure.
But them going from unaware to aware about some of these topics would be the most important thing for them. I have a buddy, he and his wife and kids went on a ski trip, and he said, hey, can you put something together, a tool or resource or whatever? And yeah, sure. So I put together some of our tools and resources, shot him a quick video, gave him an overview, and said, here, just play this with the family. And so he and his wife and kids, he convinced them all, hey, on Tuesday night or Thursday night or whatever day it was, Dad gets to choose and I choose this. And they all watched it. And then And it was about understanding who their family was and having alignment in the family and being intentional about living out that identity and intentional about developing relationships and why it's important. So they watched something, they talked about it, and then they went out to dinner afterwards. And I think it was his 8-year-old or 10-year-old was at the dinner table at a restaurant and said, hey, so are we going to like answer these questions and decide on who we are or what? Like, it's that piece of what you're saying, Ashton, is no, what we do matters. And when a family understands, and even young children inside a family understand, hey, we can do this on purpose. We can live intentionally. No, hey, some of the things in our family, I don't ever want to let go. I love them. But there's a couple things in our family, if we chose, I wouldn't carry those forward. So let's let that go and let's move over here towards this.
Yeah.
Some people won't take the assessment, and we still want you to leave this podcast being encouraged and inspired and have a takeaway to apply to your family. Would you like to go over some of the questions?
Yeah, sure. That sounds great. So in the assessment, we've got 15 questions that relate to each of those core 4 principles: identity, purpose, direction, application. And we took those answers, scored them. We'll take your answers or a family that goes through it, take their answers, score them, and then based on the priority of those 4, we give them one of 16 different family types. And there's some similarities between families that we've found through just ministering to tens of thousands of families that we can put together in specific categories. But I agree. Let's go into some of the questions. Specifically, let's start with family identity. Okay. So there's 15 questions for adults, 15 questions for teenagers, that help people put their finger on family identity, on whether it's strong or weak inside the home. What are some of the ones that stuck out to you on the assessment, and why are those important?
Okay, I'll start off with a question that stood out to me on identity. The first one was, my family shares a set of core values that unite us and guide our interactions with one another. And this is one of those assessments, like so that's the question, what would we answer it like?
Strongly disagree, or strongly, all the way to strongly agree.
Yeah. So somewhere between agree, disagree, and somewhere in the middle. So that one really stuck out to me. Like, if you had to answer that question for yourself, does your family have a set of core values that unite you and guide your interactions with one another? For me, just even the word core there, like, what is the core of your family? What is your guiding force? I think once we have established our core values, it's like, oh, we know this is who we are. And so then we know what to do. What are your thoughts?
I wonder, you're talking about core. If somebody, this goes back to what we were saying a few minutes ago, in that, hey, if the family together as a group identifies those cores, you might let go of your own personal desire to support the family core values that are agreed upon and you can support and that kind of stuff. Because otherwise, what are the core values or core motivations of an individual? Well, if I think about myself, it's selfishness and self-promotion, and it's whatever I want to take care of number one.
Right.
And if you've got a bunch of number ones in a home trying to take care of number one, then it's all going to be out of alignment. You're going to misfire all the way around.
Or you're just disconnected.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you're probably not talking to one another frequently. You probably don't really know what's going on with one another, your schedule even. I mean, it can be deeper right on the surface, but you probably don't really have like a good idea or understanding of that person, which is interesting because you share a bathroom with them.
Right.
So,
yep.
Right.
That's true.
But I circled that one too, babe. My family shares a set of core values. To me, I circled that one, but then I wrote ideal. Like, that's like dream level for me, is for every family to put, oh, I strongly agree to that. Like, that's a win, win all the way around. I think that one's a big reach for probably a lot of families, because until you think about it, you don't think about it.
Right. Right.
Like nobody wakes up and goes,
Mm-hmm.
what are my family values in our home?
Mm-hmm.
Very rarely do I ever hear anybody come up with that on their own.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Not ever.
Yep, that's right.
Never.
I don't know that personally we do that.
I
Like,
agree.
I don't know a lot of people, even as individuals, who are like, this is this is one of my values.
Right.
And so I'm
I've been
out.
thinking about my life.
You know,
I've been
or
thinking about
whatever.
my life
Yeah.
and really questioning what I value.
Right.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and then some of that's just, oh my gosh, we're all so busy.
Mhm.
Yeah. A couple of words that stuck out to me in that first question was, okay, core values. So it makes me think, like, what is the heart of your family, but also that unites us. Like you're united under these same values. Because otherwise, if it is individual, you have your values that you live out of. I have mine. Our kids have ours. Like, where's the unity aspect of it? Is it like, oh, hey, we have a little bit of crossover on this one and that one, and minimum things in common, minimum things that are guiding us as a unit. What do you have that unites
That's right.
the family and guides?
What happens if your individual core value conflicts with my individual core value, whose individual core value wins?
Right. You wouldn't be united.
That's right. That's right. I like that question. One that stuck out to me was, I feel like I belong in my family.
Made it on my list.
It did? Okay.
That's a good
That's
one.
not surprising.
That's on my list.
Is it really? Okay. Because to me, like, don't we all want to belong, feel like we belong?
Everybody. Yeah.
We all want to feel like we belong.
About everybody. Oh my gosh.
And I think especially at the place that you spend the most time, at your home with your family, like,
gosh,
I think it's foundational. I think it is, man, if I feel like I don't belong in my family, that I feel like I'm going to be lost from day one. I'm going to roll off the assembly line as a misfit or broken or damaged or whatever it is. And then I'm going to live out of that personal identity everywhere I go. Well, hey, I don't belong in my family. It's not a surprise I don't belong here. I don't belong in my family. It's not a surprise that I don't fit in at the office or school or whatever it is.
Or looking for love in all the wrong places.
Right.
Like, it makes me think of that. Like, you'll go look, you will go find somewhere to belong.
That's right.
Whether you actually do or not.
That's right. And usually the people that say everybody belongs here are not the places that you want to find yourself. Like those aren't the groups that you want to, oh, okay, great.
Right.
Well, and I mean, I think of when Jesus, basically said, he did say, you do not belong to the world. You do not belong in the world. You are not of the world. And I think about that a lot, because that really challenges me. And it helps me evaluate, what are the things that I do feel like I belong to, or I belong with out in the world outside of my home.
Yeah.
And do I have that wrong?
Yep.
Well, I remember putting that question on the assessment, and my hope and my desire is that as somebody answers that question for themselves and says, oh man, do I feel like that? Yes or no? And they immediately make the next step of, do I make the other members of my family
That's what it was for
feel
me.
like they belong? Like that's my hope or desire, is in that question, we can go, well, I'm looking at myself, but how do I reflect that to everybody else? Because these are the people that, I mean, we're closest to in theory, right? It might not be relationship wise, but you spend the most time with, or you did spend the most time with, or this is base level.
Yep.
Okay. Ashton, what's one that stuck out to you, but you can't steal mine or Gina's?
That's right.
So I'm just not good. I'm not a good test taker. I haven't been like since growing up. Like I'm an overthinker. And so, there's pros and cons to that. But so the belonging one was one. But then another one that really, it did kind of the secondary thing that you just brought up. Actually, most of them did. Like I actually didn't need most of them. I could have like when I went through, I was like, I do. Yeah. 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 But I feel like I'm one of the pillars that dictates that environment in our house. And so like me and Jordan, right? Like my husband, it's almost like so I couldn't help as a parent, I should say this. I could not help but feel like I couldn't help but ask myself as I'm going through these,
Mhm.
are we creating this environment?
Right.
Or are we doing these things? And so another one that stood out to me, and this one's actually pretty basic, but it was the traditions one.
Mhm.
Do we have a lot of family traditions or something, or
Mhm. Mhm.
does my family have
Yep.
traditions or something? And I remember sitting on that one for quite a while, because when I watch movies, they all have traditions.
Right.
Like, I can pick them out almost immediately. And, I really had to take a second to think through, like, evaluate, do we have traditions? And the answer is yes. I'm like one of the most sentimental people on the planet. And so traditions are, I might not in the moment say, this is a tradition, we are
Right.
doing it every year.
Right.
But we absolutely have them. And I think what's interesting is, I'm not saying that I think a tradition is a habit, but it is something that I know we're going to do this every year.
Right.
Right. So I don't know. It was just interesting. Christmas tree, like
Yep.
decorating the Christmas tree we are a Christmas family. Like, we want to go look at lights. We want to go walk around the cold park and drink
Mhm.
hot chocolate. We want to, like, hopefully someone will like be a Christmas caroler on our front porch. Like, we just love it. And so that's something like, at the time, whenever our kids, we were having to rotate, we're a blended family, we're rotating Christmas. I mean, there were times where we were not putting up the tree until later, like
Mhm.
at a later date, because
Mhm.
we were not going to do it without the kids, and
Mhm.
we were not going to do it without the four of us being together. And so, um, I think on that one, you know, I tend, and maybe this is my age, but I tend to look at all of these, and I've got that bad eye, right? Sometimes where I can look at it and go, dang, I don't do that. Or man, like, I wish we did that. And there were even times where I had to really consider how am I answering?
Oh, yes.
Because to me, like, I'm like, well, I want to
I
do
wanna
that.
say
Yeah.
I'll
yes.
start doing that
Yeah.
today,
Right.
Yeah.
And so it was just kind of funny how, one, I was just gaining some self-awareness about myself as I'm answering these questions. But um honestly, I think for me, there was some other questions that stood out, but I just want to say, it was just kind of this thing that ignited just a deeper evaluation
Mhm.
of, what do we care about, and if that's what we care about, are we getting to the place that we want to go? Are we actually making the things that we care about? Are we putting those at the center?
Mhm.
Are we putting those on the top shelf? And that's where we're working toward. Like, um, and it was just really humbling, I think, to um it was kind of healing in some ways too, because I looked back and I had been really hard on my parents.
Mhm.
And then as I'm like going through these questions, I thought, yeah, this isn't that easy, is it? And man, like, sure, we're doing the best we can, but there's definitely some things we can let go of,
Mhm.
and that are wasting time, or it's just not, it's not this really, it shouldn't be a priority,
Mhm.
I guess, is kind of what I'm saying. Like, um I love video games. We're a video game family through and through. I'll just admit that. But there are times where it's like, we're not playing video games. We're gonna, like, go for a walk, or
Yeah.
we're gonna actually, like, talk to each other face to face, right? Same thing with the movie nights. I mentioned that on one of our first episodes. So anyway, it just helped me. It really was like that first step of, like, this isn't something to feel bad about. It
Right.
Right.
is meant to be
Absolutely.
fun. It's
Right.
meant to be fun. When you get the PDF, all the colors, and you have a family mascot and a family song, like, when you get your results, it's so cool. I mean, like, and I know that because I'm one of the, I got
Yeah.
to write it.
Right.
You
Yeah.
guys
You get to help
totally asked me
create it.
to help create it. And man, it's so legit. It's so cool. So I do want to add to what you kind of brushed on earlier. Um, it's meant to be fun. It can absolutely, and it's meant to also be a tool, for you to just start thinking about what can we do different? Are there
Right.
things we
That's
want to do different?
That's right.
That's exactly what I was going to say is because, you mentioned, okay, you have a bad eye. You look, okay, here, I
Yeah.
don't do this. I'm like, well, what if you had a good eye and you said, hey, here's something that I can do?
Yeah.
What if you change the lens that you look through and go, oh, hey, I'm not doing any traditions. What are some traditions that I can implement? And
Yes.
so
Yeah.
having that kind of attitude versus that self-condemnation of like, oh gosh, I
Yep.
missed the mark here and I missed the mark here. And no, hey, here's a great idea. I can do this.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
I think for some of us, like we just don't know. There's not that awareness like you're talking about, Derek. And so you often say like, we don't know what we don't know. And so as you go over these, hey, let it be seen as an opportunity. Here are some things that I can do.
That's right.
Hey, these would increase our family unity. I'm going to go for it.
That's right. That's right.
So good.
And Ashton, I think you bring up a good point. So if anybody is going to go through the family ID assessment, take the questions. You'll get your personal results, which is an 11 or 12 page PDF, and it breaks down each of the aspects and kind of where your priorities are, your sequence of identity, purpose, direction, application, and which one you prioritize most. And it's meant to be fun and helpful and a tool to encourage you and push you forward. Like that's the desire and goal. But I can't help to say, hey, even when I go through it, I help write the questions. And it's convicting for me, right?
Yeah.
Like,
it really is. Yeah.
yes, I want to say yes, but
I've said strongly.
I want to
disagree
say
so many
strongly.
times.
Yeah, right.
I need
bad.
to put one over here.
Right,
I don't care if it's true or not.
That's right. Okay, so first section is identity. Who are we? And I'll say this real quick before moving on. Well, another question in there, it's a teenager question because they're broken up between adults and teens. And the teenager question is, I feel that my family respects and values my individuality. Like, I think that's a big deal, especially to a younger adult or a younger person living in your home. Who are we? I don't know if I've mentioned the Cane's Chicken on the podcast yet or not. I had a buddy, his whole job was for Cane's Chicken, the land would be identified. He'd come in, build the restaurant, and hire the first team all the way for the manager and the staff. And I asked him one time, hey, Damon, how does that work? Because I'm sure the culture in Denver is different than the culture in Baton Rouge where it started. And he said, no, Derek. The personality is different, but the culture is the same. And I think for that question, I feel that my family respects and values my individuality. We can celebrate personalities. We can celebrate differences, but still it ties into who we are as a family. You add this to our family, and so you help make us who we are. I think that's good.
Another question under identity that stuck out to me was my family encourages open communication and honest conversations about our feelings and experiences, and how there needs to be this environment that draws out communication, that draws out honesty, that we can say, hey, I'm not feeling great about this, or I'm, what makes them happy, what makes them sad, even us as adults, just that open communication. Hey, are we cultivating an environment where people feel safe to express their feelings?
It's good. It's good. I like it. Okay. So that wraps up family identity. Family identity defines who we are as a family, right? It is the way we communicate, the beliefs that we share, the values that we have, the traditions we uphold, the rhythms of the household. It is the way you do things, the way you do things. So let's dive in. So again, the assessment it supports the 4 core principles: identity, purpose, direction, and application. The second one is purpose, family purpose, which answers the question, why are we here? This is how you live out your core values. This is the purpose of your family, how you impact those inside your family and those outside your home in community, society. Most families, I believe, are in survival mode in the midst of chaos, right? So their purpose is get through today, or manage the chaos. But I believe that we serve a great big God who has a purpose for our family. To your point, Ashton, earlier, hey, it's within God's sovereignty that he put our family members together at this point in time for a reason, because he doesn't do stuff without a reason. So what is that reason? What is the purpose? And What are you doing inside? What's your individual purpose inside your home? And what's your collective purpose outside your home as a family? What question stuck out to you, ladies?
I'm going to touch on, you said, and I'm going to come right to you.
Okay.
You touched on just surviving. And I think the opposite of that is thriving. Hey, how can you go from just merely surviving a situation to thriving?
Yeah.
And so many people get in that gear of just survival mode. And I feel like that's not the abundant life of Christ.
No, I don't think so either.
So like the question I was thinking of is, I have personal values or principles that guide my decisions.
Same here. That was one of mine.
Yep.
So the reason, but I feel like the reason that this one stood out to me is because, because like Jordan and I, as I'm like reading that, I'm like, of course I want that for our family, but I feel like as an individual, and Jordan too, like we're still learning what that is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, as part of me feels kind of bad about that because I'm 32 today, and it's like, this year I turned 32, and it's like, I'm like behind, like I should already know that or something. And so that's why I feel like weird even bringing that up, because I'm like, we already have kids or not. I mean, I've been doing this for a decade. Like I just read that and I'm like, man, we should already have that set. I should already, as their mom, be leading through that. But then I look at all the things we've gone through and I'm like, I feel like we're just trying to, it's what you say, surviving. And we're out of that now. We're getting out of all that now. But there's real things that we've gone through. And so when I look at that, I'm like, it's not that I feel bad about myself, but there's a level of just like, we just don't have that yet. And it feels like we're trying to like teach our kids how to do it, but we're learning too.
You're the lead learner.
And okay. It's like we're growing up together.
Yeah.
And
but
so
we all are.
Okay.
We all are.
We all are. Hey, truth is, when you're little, you think your parents have it figured out.
Totally.
You think, oh, that is who they are. And therefore, that's who them.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And then as you get to be a parent, you realize they didn't have it figured out at all.
Right.
Like at
I'm
all.
Like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a circus.
No.
And I feel like I'm in a circus. Yeah.
You feeling behind is a lie.
Right. I agree. 100%.
Because truth is, I feel behind. I feel behind in 100 different aspects.
Yeah.
I feel behind in the yard work. Like I feel behind. I've told that to Gina for years. Like I just wake up and I'm like, I feel so behind. I should be farther. I should be this, or I should be doing that. You're not alone in feeling that. And it's a lie that the enemy wants us to believe, because if we feel like we're behind, it's like the race is already so far gone.
Yeah, you might as well not.
You
even
might
try.
as well just not even try.
That would be a lie of the enemy.
Yeah.
So on this
but
podcast,
I think to that point, people feel that way too.
Of course they do. Of course they do.
I mean, and yeah.
You're 32. Ashton, I have had conversations with people who are 62 or 72, and they say, I feel behind. I feel like I should have already figured this out by now, but I'm just still struggling with personal core values or living out personal core values, or I'm trying to find my sweet spot. At 67? Really?
Right.
Like, no, that's a real legitimate conversation.
Yeah.
And you're going, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But some of it too is like, I'm like, I want to believe that I could sit down and just, okay, here's my list of things and I live by these and I get it all right. It's not even about like being perfect, but it's almost like when I look back over my time of getting to know God and really just seeking him, not even to like, I need a platform and I want to talk about the Lord and teach everyone about the Lord. There's a part of me that is like, I just want to get to know him. Like, I just want to know who you are, because there are so many things I've gone through in my past that constantly contradict what your word says. And I struggle to have like right now, even in the season that I'm in personally, it's like, there's a lot of doubt that resides right next to my faith. And so part of me is like, sure, I want to have this list of like core values that I go through and live out. And I absolutely know the need. I know the need because, if nothing else, because of my job, my day-to-day job. Like I see it and understand it. I know how valuable it is. But part of me is just like, but I feel like I can't even get a hold on those fully, because I'm still trying to figure out, like I'm still trying to heal or overcome things, but also I'm just trying to deepen my relationship with the Lord in ways that I can then take that and then go to the kids and go to Jordan or whatever, and I can help create the environment. But it's just weird because it doesn't feel like it's okay, I did that and now I'm here and then we're gonna go to this step. It all feels like it's kind of just messy and it's all happening simultaneously, and my kids are getting older and I'm getting older. And I think that is a big fear that I have, is I'm gonna wake up in 20 years and it's like, dang, I still don't have this figured out. Like, dang it.
But that gives the false belief that there is an arrival date.
Right.
Right. And we already know there's not.
There's not an
Yeah.
arrival.
Right.
I know.
And
Yeah.
and if I looked at this and I said, okay, does Ashton have personal values and principles that guide her decisions?
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course. Of course. Now, is
Yeah.
it a perfect list that you live out 100% every day, all the time? No.
Mhm.
But why
Yeah.
why are you faithful to Jordan?
Oh man.
Because you value faithfulness.
Yeah. And I value him. I respect him
Exactly.
and love him.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
of course you do.
Yeah.
Of course you live
Yeah.
that out. And
Yeah.
of course, people listening will understand, hey, you have values that you live
Mhm.
by that guide your decisions.
Mhm. It's just bringing them to the forefront.
Yes.
Right.
It's
That's
like
right.
evaluating them, taking the time to bring them to the forefront. And it really is small changes. Like now that we're kind of processing it, it's like, okay, it's not moving mountains. Like this is not going to be this like big overnight like shift. It really is just like small things. And you and I have talked about that before. Like there's little things that I've done with Parker and Nolan even. Like we started doing a bedtime liturgy at night, and they ask for it now.
Mhm.
Like the other night, it was like, can we have our blessing? Like, let's do our blessing before bed. And I just put, my hand on their forehead. I'm like, do you see my eyes? Yes. Do you see my eyes looking at your eyes? It's the sweetest thing, but it's just a moment. It's like a moment with them, but it's made all the difference. Like bedtime. And we got it from this book that we were reading. It's
Cool.
blowing our minds. But anyway, all that to say, it really is just little changes. And I think it's just keeping that perspective, because
Yeah.
I want to I see the big picture and I want to bite it all off at once. And okay, I want to perfect it at once. And some of that's just inward healing that I need to do, right? God's working on in me. But yeah, thank you for that encouragement.
Well,
That was
and I
helpful.
think give yourself grace, because we already
Mhm.
touched on this episode. You don't know until you know.
Mhm.
And so you're sitting here with a couple that's been married 17 years longer than you have. You know, if this was flip-flopped and Derek and I are here and we're talking to a couple that has 17 years on us, guess what? They're going to be farther down the line than we are. Or if we rewind to when, okay, we're at our 5 years of marriage, we'd be looking at this thing like, okie doke.
No, strongly disagree.
and-
Strong.
yeah,
Nope, don't
you
have that
know,
one. Don't have that one.
So this is not meant to bring any shame
No.
or anything. And
Mhm.
golly, you're probably more advanced at 5 years of marriage than Derek and I were
Yeah, totally.
at 5 years of marriage. And to think oh, my kids are already 9 and 11. Guess what? I don't care if they're 99 and whatever,
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
still learn. You're a lifelong learner and you're
Yeah.
a lead learner as parents. That's who we are. And so,
That's
I'm
good.
still learning and Derek's still learning, and we're still working this thing out, and we're still implementing new things with our kids and finding out, hey, you know what? This didn't work.
That's right.
Let's take that out.
Yeah.
Hey, let's try something new, because we're constantly going to learn about something that works for somebody else, and pray about it. Hey, would this be for us?
I had that conversation this week. I told you about it. A family said, oh man, we're not the kind of family that we've tried chore charts and we can't nail it. And I'm like, well, hold on. First, you should probably ask God if a chore chart is right for you
Yeah.
right now.
That's a whole other conversation.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Did God tell you to do that?
Yeah.
and so we live by these false expectations that,
Totally.
hey, every family, you know what? If I look in my neighborhood, all the other families, if I walked in their home, they'd all have chore charts and they'd give their kids tokens with chores, and they earn screen time, and they play only 8 minutes of video games a day. And that's what we believe the false
Mhm.
expectation.
Mhm.
And truth is, in that home, looking at your house, they're thinking the same thing. They probably have a chore chart and they probably have it right. And they're never yell at their kids and
Yeah.
all this stuff.
Yep.
The truth is, hey, we've got to walk with God as to what he wants for our home,
Yeah.
because not all homes are the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, and that's kind of the perfect segue into purpose, because that, I mean, we already are in purpose, but I mean, that to me is what sets up this whole idea of, are we living out our purpose?
That's right.
Because if you're not, it might be because you're doing all of these things that God did not tell you to do. And I'm
Right.
not saying he's going to, like, you know, open the heavens and like start talking to you in like a Darth Vader voice. But I just mean, like, if we haven't prayed about it and we feel the chaos, or we feel like we're kind of all over the place. And sure, there's been seasons where we have been. Sometimes that's because of circumstances, not because we're not
Sure.
praying.
Yeah.
But I do think there's like, oh my gosh, there's so much, you know, validity to evaluating what you're doing and then why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Have you talked to God about that?
Yes.
But yeah.
That's the
It's so
whole
good.
that's the whole purpose and point of the assessment, is to help people go from unaware to aware and begin to ask those questions that perhaps, unless it's directly in front of you, we won't let our brains go there because it requires processing. We won't let our spirits go there because it requires processing. And it's a whole lot easier to just play the ostrich game, put our head in the sand and move on and just pretend like it doesn't exist and keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And I want to encourage any listener, man, do not be scared of the assessment. Like, use it as
That's right.
a tool, because that's what it's meant for. It's meant to be a tool. It's meant to bless your family. And so anything different than a blessing or a tool that you would see this as is just the enemy twisting it. And so I wouldn't give him the time of day. I would say, you know what? I am going to log on. I am going to look at this assessment because I want my family to be all that we can be.
Yeah.
And I love the fact, and Ashton, you touched on this, and Derek, I think you did too, about, you know, when you ask that question and you have that personal reflection, and then you look outward and say, okay, do I belong? I do. But wait a minute. Am I making these people feel good? Like, hey, if your answer is no, you know what? I don't think I'm making my husband feel like he belongs, or my kids feel like I belong. Learn from it. Grow. That's what life is about. We're going to grow. We're not going to be stagnant. We're not going to hit cruise control.
Right.
So you know what? As you go through this, if you feel conviction's okay. Condemnation is not, but conviction is. And you can say, okay, God, or I could repent to you. Derek, I read this question. Do you feel like I make you belong? And if he says no, you know, and then just pray, God, help me to make my spouse feel like he belongs. Pursue the hearts. I think that's what it's all about, is pursuing the Lord and pursuing the hearts of your family member. And so that's not something that we want to shy away from. It's something that we want to run towards. And so I encourage, even if you felt resistant on taking the assessment, anyone listening, like, no, get on and take it. And, man, even print off those questions. These are great conversation starters, even at the dinner table. I mean, that one question, hey, do you feel like you belong? Why don't you ask your family that tonight at dinner? Do you feel like you belong? If they say yes, what in this family makes you feel like you
Great question.
belong?
Great question.
And
Because
it
then
really
keep
is simple.
at
Just
it.
ask. It's as simple as just asking. And that's actually what I love about most of these questions, is that they don't feel like awkward and weird, if that makes sense. It doesn't feel like I'm prying if I say, do you feel like you belong in our family?
Yeah.
Like I absolutely can say that to my 9-year-old and he's going to shoot me straight.
And he'll tell you the truth, right?
Yeah.
He'll tell you the truth.
Yeah.
I'll say
so
this,
good,
babe. I
Gina.
think what you're pointing out is a great concept and idea. Is it's okay even if you recognize a weakness. Weakness is not failure. If we identify a weakness, now we know where we can get stronger. Right? If I go to the gym and it's my first day with a trainer and he says, man, Derek, you're strong in all the areas. You don't need me. No, he's going to say, hey, looks like we need to work on your core a little bit. Now let's work on your core. It's okay to identify a weakness.
Right.
Now you can get stronger.
Right.
Yeah, that's
And
really
I think
good.
pride can blind us.
That's
to
right.
Like, oh, no, I don't need to grow in this area. Like if you're strong in these, keep on growing in them. Keep
Yep.
at it.
Yep. Also, don't be afraid to start digging into those weaknesses or just things that I think that was something for me for a long time. I was just afraid to look at the I don't want to say bad stuff because I think God will use all of it.
It's
right?
like when you're low in your bank account and you'd rather just not even pull it up because you're afraid of how little money is in there. And you're like, I'd rather just not look at it. I'd rather just pretend like it's fine.
College. I resonate so hard with that. I remember being in college. You'd be like, I can't look at it.
I just don't even want to look at it. Yeah.
But yeah, it's the same feeling. It's like, I don't want to uncover this thing. I don't want to look at it. It's going to hurt. And then there's work to be done because that's what God does. You can't like become aware and then not do anything about it.
Right.
You can't go back.
Once you become aware, you're faced with two difficult decisions.
Yes.
Continue to ignore it, but you know it's there, or do the hard work.
Right.
Yeah.
Both are hard.
Both are hard.
Mhm.
Both are hard. It's easier to not do it, but maturity doesn't happen by not doing it.
Right.
Maturity and growth happen when you pull it open and look at it.
And I can't think of a better area of life to put hard work into
Oh my
than your
gosh,
family.
Yeah.
And you are going to reap what you sow. So big. Get a harvest.
That's it.
So when Jordan and I took the assessment, we got the generous family, which did not surprise me at all. What was interesting though is we were a little bit lower on identity. So in our core 4 sequence, I cannot, gosh, I wish I could remember the sequence off the top of my head, but it was purpose and application was actually one of the lowest ones, which kind of bothered me a little bit. Like, I was just like, I guess I could see that. Like, anyway, we can edit that out. I don't want to be that vulnerable, but all that to say, it didn't surprise me at all because we are so like, I don't know how to articulate it, so help me. But it's almost like we were okay. It's not that we're actually consciously okay with this, but I'm saying the way that we live totally, it made sense that our identity was second or third, and then our purpose was number 1 because everything that we do is actually really like it is intentional.
Well, sure, you ask why.
Schedule, like we're really on top of just like we protect our quality time. Like we rarely have anything going on in the evenings. Like we are just so like hyper aware of what we have going on during the week, and we're not that flexible with who we give our time to. If that makes sense. That sounds so selfish. I'm not trying to.
That sounds very generous. I see why you would be called the generous family.
But then on the flip side of that, right? The people that we do invest in, we are like all in.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think of church, I think of whether that's like our extended family or the kids' school, like friends at their school. Like I just think of all these different areas. Now, obviously, every season looks different. Like our involvement looks different for sure. I know mine, even recently, it's looked different in our different like activities and things or church. But it's like, I don't know, I can just trace back the results that we got directly to like our everyday stuff and then our conversations even. Like it kind of freaked me out. It was just like, why do you know everything about me?
Yeah, right. Yeah. I've heard that. I've heard that before.
Yeah.
People are saying, this totally read my mail on exactly who I am.
Yeah. It was just it was strange. But anyway, I guess where I was going with that was, you know, when I think about kind of like, because again, I took the assessment and I'm like, I can't answer yet who we are as a family. So I'm hoping that you're going to tell me based on our answers. And obviously me and Jordan took it. And so we collectively, our answers collectively gave us the generous family. So to me, it's like, okay, everything is super, super intentional. It's purposeful. That means like our money, we talk about everything. So it's just interesting. I don't know. You were collaborative.
Harmonious,
which is a identity, that
Mhm.
collaborative family. It's because never mind. Doesn't even matter. But remember, we used to be like collaborative. Just always doing the pictures over and over. It's just so funny. But that one's identity.
Yep.
Talk about that for a second.
So for us, identity, I mean, I agree with you in, for us, going back to Gina's experience of, wait, okay, what does it mean to be in England? Who is in England? So we've put a lot of time and effort into defining those edges, those core values on who we are as a family. And so if I had to identify and choose one thing that our family would answer, it is, who are you?
Yeah.
You would probably answer, hey, what defines your family? And that says, oh, why we do things.
Yes. When you said that, that's what I was trying to articulate. I see that in everything that we do.
Right.
There is like, why are you here? I think that was one of the ways that it was like, why are we here? Why are you here? For the purpose principle. And so I can easily answer that. If you would have said, why does your family do the things you do when you first met me? I would have given you all the answers.
You have all the answers for that one.
Yeah. But man, you talk about identity and I'm like, I mean, I could put something together, but I don't know that we've like intentionally defined it.
Yeah.
But that does mean that it does make at times purpose, direction, application a little more tricky.
Yep.
They can get out of order if that makes sense.
Yep.
Because ideally, you do want to have identities, foundational, purpose, direction, application. You're applying identity, purpose, and direction. And so that's not to say that everyone's messed up. Don't go get your score and you're like, oh, we're doing this all wrong. It's not that, but it's just actually think about that, like from a zoomed out perspective. Like identity is foundational, identity in Christ.
Yep.
That's what like builds up the rest of our lives. And so anyway, keep going. The light bulb came on.
Yeah, same thing. We spent a lot of time answering the questions or focusing on the question, who are we? And you obviously spent a lot of time answering the question, wait, why are we doing this? And I think there will be other families, and we'll talk about that in another episode, that talk about, hey, where are we even going? Like if we're not moving, if we're stationary, what's the purpose? And then some families, well, how do we get there? And they're we'll do it all family and we'll figure it out along the way. Why we do things and how we do it and all like that. They jump into action. They're the action first family.
Yeah.
So, all right. Your family is telling a story. What story are you telling? We hope that some of what we've talked about today in identity and purpose has helped you define who you are, why you're here, and maybe even spark some thoughts and ideas about questions you can talk about at the dinner table, or questions you can ask yourself when you're taking a shower, and reflect and think, hey, how does this make me feel? And how do I make the other members of my family feel? Next time, we are going to dive into direction and application, some of those questions and what that means. In the meantime, subscribe and follow us. And remember, Family ID is 100% donor funded. So the only way that we're able to create this is through families and individuals that support us. We are truly making a difference. We'll share story after short story on families that are changed and more intentional because of what they read, they watched, they listened to, or they saw. We would love it if you would join us on that journey to reach more and more families. Until next time, we're Family on Purpose. Thanks a lot.